Hi, Violette. I'm so excited to welcome you to the Power Women Wellness podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here.
I know I'm excited that you're here because we're going to dive into a little bit of behind the scenes. But before we get into that, tell us who you are, what do you do, and what got you into doing what you're doing today?
Sure. So I'm the founder of FemCity, and I've been doing FemCity for over 13 years. I started that company, a long time ago. And really, my passion, my intention is to help women navigate life and business so that they can be happy and balanced. And so we do a lot with FemCity. We've got over 50 locations. We do online curriculum, local programs. We work with different women organizations and chambers. And I'm super excited.
I'm so excited. And I remember seeing on your website that you are also like a young mom and like juggling entrepreneurship and being a mom, which is a lot of us, which is so awesome and encouraging to see.
Yeah. I'm not so young anymore in a sense of like, I was 22 when I had my first child. He's now 28. I mean, I'm still young, but I'm not 22 anymore. And so I started a couple of businesses while navigating motherhood and being a really young mom at the age of 22. And then, our last one is our little baby is 16 years old, but I've grown a couple of businesses while balancing all of that, which is just its own challenge by itself with whether you're an executive person, someone who works full time, you're a teacher, you know what I mean? You have your own business. I mean, it's just a lot when you're balancing kids and raising them too.
I 100% agree. I was even younger. I was 17 when I had my son. So he's 12 now. And then we have an 8-year-old. But I was still in school technically, but I mean, working full time, going to school full time, raising kids, and honestly not knowing what the hell I'm doing because I'm so young and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm listening to all the people. Am I doing it right? And then, obviously still having young kids though when I started Nuvitru. So it's
none of us know. I mean, honestly, like every books that we read and the advice at the end of the day, like we're just figuring it out along the way and to give ourselves grace. I mean, I made all these mistakes like most moms do. And the truth is that we do the best we can with what we have, like there's no perfect mom. We just do the best we can, but none of us are like, oh, boom, I'm like the perfect mom, at age 17, at age 22, like at age 50, you know what I mean? Like we just do the best we can as humans.
Yeah, for sure. And then in the midst of running businesses and being a mom, did you have any personal health things that popped up in your life, even if it's not anything serious, but, symptoms that were pretty, holding you back kind of day to day? I know fatigue and like brain fog is really common, but
yeah, well, no, I was diagnosed with 3 herniated discs after the birth of my second child. So that was really painful. And then asthma, I have a heart murmur. And then as I got older, I mean, I've had like a torn ACL in my left knee. I've had, I have Hashimoto's. I've had pre-diabetes. I've had anxiety. I mean, I've had, I think like, like just check mark everything. But that's also like because I was so disconnected with wellness, even though I was a Pilates instructor and I was a personal trainer, you would think that I would be connected to wellness, but you start really kind of the balls start falling when you're raising kids and you're growing your business or trying to make more money. And my health started really suffering from that. So I've gone through everything. When I tell people all those ailments, they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, I've had a lot of stuff for sure.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's why we love doing what we're doing because we see that disconnect. And I feel like it doesn't always have to wait until we get a diagnosis. But, I feel like obviously we've come so far in society today. I feel like so many people are starting to understand the importance of wellness now than we did like even 20 years ago. Functional medicine, nutrition, it really wasn't talked about as much as it is today. So that's really cool to see how we've progressed so far. So giving us a little bit behind the scenes, tell us like your morning routine. So this can include things like your favorite beverage in the morning, just things that you're doing maybe for like mental health, what you're eating. Give us the little snippet of your behind the scenes morning.
So, and tomorrow my 16-year-old starts school, so that will be back to normal. So during the summer, it's like all wonky, right? Today was our last day of sleeping in until 7 a.m. So generally what we do is we wake up at 6, we take out the dog and get Margot kind of to the bus stop. And then we're going to start going back to the gym at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So that's our big, I've been trying to do it at night and during like the afternoon and between meetings. And it'll be so nice to be able to go every day at 7 a.m. and start kind of creating that routine every morning. And as far as beverage, my favorite thing to drink in the morning, this is going to sound really gross, but it's a bone broth chocolate protein powder that I scoop in a little mug, and then I create like a syrup with it with hot water. I use my kettle, and then I dilute it more and more with a little bit of almond milk. It has a ton of protein, but because I have Hashimoto's and because I have the prediabetes, and of course prediabetes and diabetes and Hashimoto's are like all best friends, I really struggle with not having any sugars or added carbs because it really does a number on my insulin. And so that is my breakfast go-to. And then like maybe like 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'll have like a real breakfast, but that little beverage really does a great job for me. And then for fitness, I mean, it kind of blends in. I love yoga. I love Pilates. I love barre. I love spin class. I do heavy weights. I am like a total gym rat. I would go and spend probably 3 hours at the gym if I could, which I used to, which I have done. Usually on Fridays, it's often that I do like 2 or 3 classes, and then I'll steam a little bit and shower at the gym. So I always say Equinox loses money from me because I'm there too much and I use like all of their products. It's all Keel stuff. And anyway, so that's what our morning routines are. And then probably walking Georgie again, and then starting my meetings and getting going. I have a late morning start because I've loved doing that self-care. And then I generally work a little bit later in the evening. Once, the kids and the family are kind of like settled, I'll kind of go upstairs and wrap up the day with like last minute emails and things like that.
I do that too. I know. And that's kind of talked down upon a little bit, but I feel like everyone's groove is so different. And I'm for that. Like same thing. Our kids start school tomorrow. We're super excited to get back into the swing of things. Even though we've tried to prep this whole week of putting our alarms on at 6:30 and actually waking up. I'm doing a great job. My kids are kind of struggling, but I'm doing a great job. But I'm with you. I love doing, like, I am a morning workout person. So I just don't do well. I can't go as hard with strength training in the afternoon. So yeah, I am all for about having a like slower morning and working just a little bit later. Like that just feels better for me. So I'm with you.
You know what was interesting is when I went on my own. So before I started Fem City, I worked as a consultant for 2 mayors of Miami, 2 City of Miami mayors' offices. And, I was up in the meetings at 8 a.m. and I was like, go, go, go. And I was working like this traditional schedule, like basically 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. And when I started Fem City, I kept on that routine of kind of like hustling and grinding and like no lunch breaks and no time for the gym and no time for this. And then one day it hits me. I'm like, wait a moment. Like, so what if I go to the gym, every morning for an hour, or I take Pilates, or I take Georgie around the block a couple of times? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's going to be telling me that I can't? Like, it's on me. And so if I work my 8 hours on average, and now I take Fridays off. So if I can do the 40 hours within 4 days, then that's my great balance. I mean, it kind of goes with my energy levels too. Like I need breaks. I need to start walking outside often. Like I need all that. So I gave myself permission to do that because I'm like, why am I driving myself crazy? Like for what,
Yeah. I love that you brought that up too, of just finding what you worked for you. Because I'm a fan. I still work on Fridays, but I don't do any appointments. I just like admin days, just like catch up to be able to go into the weekend just fine. And then also might just go grab lunch and be more in the community, doing networking stuff on Fridays. But I love that you say that because again, I think especially even in entrepreneur world, we talk a lot about just like having that balance, but it just being so, I don't know, like, oh, if you're working late, that's really not good for you, which again, everyone's so different. And so working longer, but maybe shorter weeks, like I'm for that. But some people might be like, no. So I love that you found what works for you. Yeah. What about, so nighttime, I know that there's a little bit of work there, like you mentioned. What skincare, like some people, I find that they have a really heavy morning, like just more to-dos, lighter evenings, or vice versa. Or if you're like me and Bougie, have both morning and nighttime is important. Tell us about your nighttime routine.
So nighttime routine, we're generally 9 o'clock. I'm already kind of winding down. I would say I have an Aura ring, so it tells me. Before that, I had the Apple Watch, which would tell you like it's time to start wrapping up. So 7:30, it's like already going off. Time to start cooling down for the day. Like just start taking it easy. Which makes my friends laugh because if we're at dinner Friday night at 7:30, it's telling me to go to bed. They're like, okay, like what's wrong? So 9 o'clock ish, I'm already starting to kind of wind down. I've generally closed the laptop already. I'm in bed with nothing really on at 10 o'clock. I started reading again, which is really nice, like regular books, like field books, and sometimes my Kindle, but I love the feel of a book. As far as my skincare, I'm a little bit obsessed with skincare. I have been since I turned like 18. So at night, I use, I'm cleansing it with either Cetaphil, which is super inexpensive. You can get that anywhere, or some sort of Cetaphil wipe. Sometimes I'm lazy and I'm like, I don't want to go and wash it with water. I'll just wipe it. But I did, La Mer sponsored one of our Femme City Miami events. And so I got a bunch of La Mer products, which super pricey, but that stuff really does last a long time. I'm like using it like it's like little gold pieces, which I think it is. But I cleanse it with La Mer. They've got like a tonic, and then I do a hydration thing after. And then I'm a huge fan of Eminence. As well. It's a Hungarian product. So I do a lot of oils on top around my eyes, and I do a lot of facial massage, which I think has really helped with my wrinkles, especially along the, I know people can't see me, but along the jawline, like right through here, just massaging this so that keeps this kind of tight, my neck area. And sleep, really just making sure that I get at least 7 hours of sleep, which again, the Aura ring tells me like how many hours I've gotten, but that's helpful. Sleep is definitely something important. I didn't have that luxury which I'm sure many, understand, and you don't sleep the times. And when they're sick or when they're in high school and you stay up, wait until they get home, or they're in college and all that stuff. So sleep, I feel like has just really been a priority for the last 3 or 4 years, finally. Yeah. So that's pretty much.
I'm with you. I'm a 7-hour sleeper too. Like it has to be, I can't do anything less. I can't do anything more. It's like my body knows exactly 7 hours and then I'm like up. So I try to like wake up without an alarm. So I love that. And I love that you mentioned you're getting back to books. I'm doing the same thing. I love my iPad that has a Kindle app, but yeah, we look at screens all day. And even though it is just, usually more to get the physical book and all that, I love it. I love the smell of books. I love holding the book. I love like a break from screens.
There's something so therapeutic about just even the textile, like the texture of the pages. Like I just love feeling the page and like the sensation through. Like I'm trying really, I love my Kindle also. I just feel like it's better for the environment as well. But then there's just like, oh, there's such a great feel of just book.
Yes, for sure. Do you have a favorite genre like that you're reading now or that you always like lean to?
So I go through phases. For the longest time, I only read business books. And then I started to not enjoy reading as much because it was like business during the day. And then everyone's asking me for business advice. And then everyone's asking, so it was a constant. And then this summer I picked up just books that were not about business. And so I read, as an example, one of my favorite books is Wish You Were Here, Jodi Picoult. I don't know how to say her last name, but that was really sweet and wonderful. It takes place in Galapagos, which we had, we went to Galapagos this summer as one of our trips. And that just started that whole entire love for reading again. I just needed to take a break from just reading business books all day, or, story, like books that would like pump you up, because I just needed a break. I'm like, I just can't do this all the time. So I think I go through phases. I love self-help books. I love those nonfiction books. I love, spiritual books, and I'll still kind of read leadership books, but not as much as I used to. I used to be addicted to that. Now I'm kind of like, I'm good.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. Same thing. People ask me about nutrition books all the time. Like, what's a good nutrition read? And I'm like, honestly, and I start my doctorate this fall. I'm an education nerd through and through, and my husband thinks I'll never quit, but honestly, this is not the last thing.
Okay.
But But I remember, I'm like, honestly, I read so much textbook nutrition. I was like, because I love reading, but I need to not do it. I
Right.
need to do things that are actually entertaining. Like I love Netflix and I love shows because it allows me to escape to a world that, that just isn't work and isn't family and it's just like a fantasy. So that's why I love reading, because it gets me back to just, just something cool and something different. So I'm with you. So with nutrition, tell us a little bit more about what you eat in a day. I know you mentioned your little chocolate bone broth, which is not weird. I actually see that a little bit on social media. So I don't know if it's a trending thing or whatnot, but I have seen people do that. What are some of your favorite breakfasts, lunches, dinners?
So by the way, I was vegan and vegetarian I was vegetarian since 1988. I just started being non-vegetarian pretty much during the pandemic, like maybe 6 or
Mm,
ago. And my blood
nice.
finally came back normal, which is great because the longest time I was like anemic and I needed B12 shots all the time. And like I was constantly having all these issues. And so finally my blood work came back and it's good. So I think vegan, as much as I loved being a vegan and I loved being a vegetarian also, it was just not good for me. And it's interesting because you would never think that. And again, I was really happy with being vegan. I didn't miss any kind of meat at all. But so anyway, I started eating eggs, and now I have turkey bacon for breakfast, which I love. I have like a side of like arugula with a little bit of olive oil and some truffle salt. That's a general go-to. Sometimes for breakfast, I'll have the Greek yogurt with marine collagen on top, 2 scoops,
Oh,
fresh berries, and then grain-free granola that I love as well. Um, I love doing smoothies also. Like I love, there's another, which is going to sound gross too. There's another protein powder that I use that's made out of beef. I don't know how I guess they chop it up and it becomes powder and she adds it with chocolate. So that's a really good one. I find that helped me a lot with my blood reports. And for dinner, generally we do some sort of like arugula or spinach or iceberg or romaine with some sort of protein on top, and then like either feta cheese or a side of vegetables. So kind of like simple, easy kind of things.
yeah.
But that's pretty much it. I mean, I try to hit, 150 grams of protein a day.
Yes.
Also menopausal, going to be 51, and limit my carbs. Again, it just was not a good fit for me at all for so long. That world was just not good for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of other people, but for me, that was not good. So I
Yeah.
less than 50, and then I avoid sugar and very, very little alcohol. If I do have alcohol, it's like usually like gin on the rocks, or like 1 glass of champagne, but I really don't drink. I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite like lunch go-tos? Because I know, the middle of the day is just kind of crazy. Do you have any that are like quick grabs that you love?
My fast one is I've got this like keto bread that's full of nuts. And so I have that with cream cheese. They have a really good vegan cream cheese at Trader Joe's. I love it. It's made out of coconut oil. I don't know how they create it, but it's so good.
Ooh.
And I'll lather that with salmon lox on top. That's a really good powered like protein. That's a go-to. Turkey jerky also from Trader Joe's. I feel like a commercial for Trader Joe's, but they just opened in our neighborhood like a year ago, and it's so cheap.
I love Trader Joe's.
$120 on groceries the other day. It lasts us a whole week. We are a family of 4. I think that's amazing, and it's good quality food. So
Do you ever feel that Trader Joe's produce goes bad quicker? Because that's the only thing. I love Trader Joe's, but that's the only thing that I see. So produce goes bad a little bit quicker.
I think we eat it so fast. I haven't had the opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah. So we really we get bananas, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. And then like their bags of lettuce, like mixed greens. And so I think we consume it so fast that it just doesn't have the luxury of going bad.
That's
Yeah.
a good thing.
I haven't seen that yet, but when it's just my husband and I, and the girls are not, we have our college girl, she just graduated from NYU, moved back home, just to kind of start her first job. And
Nice.
we're 4 of us, but I think once they all leave, and if it's just the 2 of us, I'm sure the produce will go bad really fast because we can't consume it that fast.
I love TJ's. TJ's is the best. To my knowledge, I haven't looked in a while. It's not that it's far away from us, but it definitely, aren't in like delivery or Like even like I don't even think you could like schedule a pickup. It's just not like Trader Joe's. And I wish it was, because I would totally do that more. But thankfully like Whole Foods, but it's like double the cost. Absolutely. We're a family of four. We're all really huge eaters. Obviously everything's like organic, grass fed, all the things. And I would say per week, I know on average, maybe 250, 300 a week.
Same for us.
So that's, I know you kind of inspired me. Maybe I just need to give Trader Joe's a try.
And even also, I mean, I have Trader Joe's now. They just opened, and it's literally like a 6-minute drive, and I'm in and out. Sometimes I finish spin class, and because it's right next to my gym, I'll finish spin class. I'll head over, and I'm in my car in 10 minutes. It's like kind of like an urban size Trader Joe's, so it's not really big, but I love it. But I'll tell you, I went to Publix, which is one of our local kind of bigger franchises.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's familiar, but I went on Saturday because we hosted a little summer party here for our 22-year-old. Her best friend from childhood came over and they spent the night, went to go see Bad Bunny in concert, blah, blah, blah. It was $70 for just breakfast stuff. I bought a box of croissant. I bought orange juice and berries. It was two tote bags. That's all I had. 2 little satchels of food. It was $70. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Trader Joe's, I'm like, I can't, that's the best deal ever. Hopefully it stays like that.
I'm from Florida, so I grew up more like Central Florida, like Orlando area. So obviously Publix was a part growing up, but my parents really didn't shop there as much just because of that reason. I mean, it was just so expensive. It's actually a little crazy to see. And from when we were at Publix, I feel like even now, and I'm also like so spoiled with Whole Foods that like it has everything, any condiment that I need healthy, like Whole Foods has it. They have that version. I just felt like, to me, on the healthier side, I know they probably have gotten better, but they were like kind of limited. And then it was just, so expensive, like $8 for a jar of spaghetti sauce or just something crazy.
Yeah. I know. I love it. For us, we were doing the Instacart, and that was getting so yeah, we're now on the Trader Joe's wagon, but Whole Foods, it's good.
I love Trader Joe's. Definitely shout out for all their seasonal stuff. They do such a good job of creating seasonal items, jams and sweets and whatever it is, and it's incredible. Like I know in the fall they have this pumpkin butter. It's so good.
For that, I use Trader Joe's, so I need less.
Then you are going to be in love with all the different seasonal things that they have. It's seriously probably one of my funnest times shopping at Trader Joe's, is to get all those goodies that you can't find anywhere else.
Okay.
So is there outside of what you mentioned, any other favorite healthy meals? Like if you're on your deathbed and you had to have one more of your favorite meal, like what would that be?
I love sliced strawberries with coconut whipped cream and marine collagen on top with a little bit of monk fruit, and then like a tablespoon of just raw cocoa powder. I don't know what it is about that. It's so good.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like my, like sweet. Another one, which I don't know how good this is for you, that brand Quest. It has like these peanut butter cups that have no sugar in them, and they're high fiber. Those are also, those are kind of pricey. I think it's like $4.99 for a box of 4. I mean, they're kind of, anyway, but they're really good. Yeah, that's really good. And what would be another one? I mean, you know what? I used to make these amazing French toasts, and I could probably do it now with my keto-ish kind of bread. I just haven't got the maple syrup, and you know what I mean? I used to love doing sliced strawberries, and then like the, cool cocoa whip on top. But that would probably, if I didn't have any kind of issues with that, I would totally be loving that still.
I love the cocoa whip too. I think I know which one you're talking. Is it called Cocoa Whip, like the company?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My daughter loves to eat that like ice cream because it's in the freezer. So it's very solid-ish unless you thaw it. And she just will like spoon it up.
No, because it's lower in sugar and it's lower in calories. And so I can use it. I mean, I love it. Yeah. So I'll tell you something funny. So yesterday we had, I think it's the Trader Joe's almond milk cream, whipped cream, and it comes in the gas, container. So the gas had expired. And so I knew it's like filled of whipped cream. So I'm like, there's whipped cream in here. I know, we just bought it, but the kids have probably shot it in their mouth. And so there's like no gas left. I went to open the bottom of it to like scoop it out, and it was filled of gas, and that thing exploded all over my kitchen. I had whipped cream all over my face. It went up to the kitchen, like the ceiling, the lamp, the light fixtures. It was hilarious. My husband had just stepped out to take the garbage out, came back in, and he's like, "What happened?" There's white, like whipped stuff all over the kitchen. So that's how much I love that Cocoa Whip, or even the almond milk version from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Much better
Yeah.
than the dairy. Much better.
Yeah. Which I don't even think the original like Ready Whip, I'm pretty sure it's just like high fructose corn syrup. I remember looking at it not that long ago. Because I was like, I like back up things that I had when I was little, and I'm just mind blown the stuff that my parents allowed me to eat.
What we thought was normal, right? Like stuff that we thought was,
Yeah.
and I went on a trip last year to Iceland, and there was a woman who was on there who lost like 150 pounds. She's amazing. She works for American Airlines, and she's so sweet. And she's vegan now, and that's how she lost her weight. But however, when we were in Iceland, she bought all these Oreos. I had no idea Oreos were vegan. Had no idea that they were considered.
Yeah.
So, but they're like not the healthiest, right? Like, but
Yeah.
I consumed Oreos. I'm like, oh my gosh, Oreos with the strawberry inside, Oreos covered with chocolate. But that's what she ate during the trip because it was hard for her to find vegan food in Iceland.
Wow.
Oreos, which, works for her.
Wow.
It doesn't work for her.
That's too funny. I know you're busy. So like, how do you like continue to care for yourself when, things might pop up in your day or your week? Because it's life. We're always going to get hit with something. So how do you like stay on track? I know this was when I was creating these questions, this was the biggest question that a lot of women entrepreneurs had, because I think this is where we all kind of get stuck. We're doing so good and something happens and then we just seem to let things, go away. So what do you do to stay on track?
So I think for me, the fear of not having balance and self-care anymore is like the biggest incentive. So when I turned 40, my doctor was like, you are starting to have high blood pressure. You're starting to have anxiety. You're now pre-diabetic, even though I was working out every day and I was, monitoring my calories and I thought I was eating really well. It was really about self-care. I was hustling so hard and I was grinding and trying to balance, raising 3 kids in 3 different schools. I started FemCity at the time. I had my own PR agency as well, doing environmental initiatives. And then I was on 6 boards, raising money and awareness for nonprofits. And I was like, but I loved it. I was like, it was like so addicting to feel that I could handle all of that. Because then people are like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. You can do everything. And so you kind of like, oh, like you start like, that becomes addictive hearing those words. And when he told me that, I was like, I need to start saying no to things. I'm going to die. My father had his first when he was 30, and my father has struggled with heart disease and he just recently had a stroke about 2 years ago, which he's fine now, but he's always been quite unhealthy. And so I think for me, when things start getting a little bit wonky, I go back to that story of like, I don't want to end up sick again. I really enjoy having balance. And so scheduling like that every morning, I do something for myself and making sure that I go to the gym, making sure that I'm eating the best that I can. When I start feeling really tired, listening to my body, taking a break, canceling meetings, putting that as a really top priority, because at the end of the day, if I'm not at my best, no one around me will get the best of me. I won't be the best mother or the best client or the best boss. It's just, it's better for everyone if I just prioritize that. But it took me hitting rock bottom in order to have that clarity and to make it a priority. So I revisit that often, like when I start feeling like that anxiety. And even now with opportunities, when people say, oh, I have this opportunity and you'd be great. And so I think about, I don't want to say yes to this because first it's not in alignment and I don't have time. And it's okay for me to say, I'd love to do this, but I don't have time. I need to be really conscious of making sure that I don't overbook myself, because that is a very fast slide down into the pit of where I was.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I agree with you in every aspect. I'm the same way. That's totally what drives me. It's just the fear of chronic disease. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but I think the fear of something potentially happening It's very scary to me. And actually, I feel like that's what drove me into obviously the industry that I'm in, is because I don't believe that we have to wait for any diagnosis, but a lot of people do. A lot of people need that. And I hate that. My husband being one of them. No matter what, it's just until something just really slaps you in the face, that's really scary. It doesn't get your attention. And that's like, we're so passionate about, like, no, it does. Like, listen, the littlest things that we tend to overlook, whether it's gut stuff or hormone stuff or fatigue. Yeah, entrepreneurs are more going to like push through and just like hustle through it. But eventually, and we'll take that excuse of, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for certain self-care, whether it's movement or eating healthy or whatnot. And I'm like, that time will come and it's going to slap you in the face where you're forced to take time because you're sick. And like, you don't have to wait until it is that rock bottom or that thing. So I love that you reflect back on that, because it absolutely will keep you, on track, to make sure that you're, living to like 130.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, when you hit rock bottom, like I did with your health, that is something that I definitely, I don't want to do that again. And I also don't want to share that image with anyone that's around me. I want to show others like how good life can be when we prioritize ourselves. So whether it's on social media or with my kids, or with my friends, when we prioritize that and we announce it to others, it gives them the permission to also create that as a priority as well. It normalizes it. I
love that. That's so true. And I've actually never even thought about it that way, because it's so accurate, because I think in the comparison trap that social media can be, when we see all these people doing the things, we can tend to think like, wow, what are they doing? I'm not working hard enough. I need to, work so much and hustle so hard to make it happen, to be like this. So I love that when I see that too practiced, it's very encouraging to know like, oh, they're taking that time. I can take that time too. And I know that with my mom, who doesn't listen to me, but when she just got diagnosed with kidney disease, I would say a couple months ago, something else that was very, very much of a mindset shift that I feel like I never had until obviously you're diagnosed with something, is I was thinking that like me taking care of myself today is actually serving my kids, so they're less likely to have to worry about me in the future of me being diagnosed with something, because now I'm worried about my mom, and like that's all consuming, and I am saving my kids from worrying about me from that. So that was like a mindset shift and realization that I had, that even made it even more of a exciting thing to focus on myself and put myself first in a certain way. So my kids didn't have to worry about me, because that is like the worst feeling, to be honest, me being the kid in the situation.
Yeah. And you're also teaching them to do the same. I think our three kids are very connected to wellness, because my husband and I have had that continuous narrative for them. My husband still plays rugby a couple of times a week. I'm still pretty active, to the gym all the time. So our kids are, our oldest one, who's 28, he practices yoga every single day. Our 22-year-old also is a really big yogi, practices every day. Our youngest is a rower. She trains competitively. Wow. So part of their, when you show up like that as a parent, you're also showing your kids like, this is what's important. And you kind of like, make it so it's for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite self-development book that you have read in your past? Doesn't have to be a current one that you read, but one that would that changed your life or changed the way that you thought about things?
Yeah, I always go back to Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love and A Woman's Worth. Those were the two books that I read. Must have been around 17 or 18 years old. Those two books, and then of course she has A Course in Miracles. Those two books though changed my life. It was, my upbringing wasn't the easiest. My mother had mental illness. She was also she had a drug addiction. There's a lot of just childhood trauma that I think everyone has. Everyone has their own kind of, I've never met someone who's like a perfect childhood. But those two books made me realize like what healing was about. Gary Zukav's Seed of the Soul was another one that comes to mind. That was a really great one too, about people's intentions and when they say certain things. That gave me the perspective to kind of forgive people and take it like whatever they're saying comes from their perspective and not be so judgmental. So those are the ones that really started my journey, of like myself and how to heal and how to be kind.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to put those in the show notes. I've never heard of them, so I love getting like new reads. Do you
old books like they're I mean they make them, they're on I've got an Amazon list that has like all my favorite books because friends ask me, so I know they still make them because it's in my Amazon list, but they're old.
What are some other old ones like Think and Grow Rich? Isn't that one really old too? Like those are really classic.
Exactly.
So sometimes the classic ones, they have the wisdom that we need today.
I should read them again.
Yeah. Do you listen to any certain podcasts that you love? And it doesn't have to be self-development. It could be health, wellness. It could be business.
I love Modern Love podcast. That's my podcast when I'm at the gym. I put the AirPods on, Modern Love. That's my absolute favorite. And I love Goop. That's like one of my favorite podcasts as well. And The Gilded Age with HBO. They have their own podcast with the show. That's I love. So those are like my top 3 lately.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We would love to support you. I know our listeners are women that are entrepreneurs or just professionals, or women in power that want to be, and they're striving for that. So feel free to share with us where we can find you and your business website, and all of them will be in the show notes as well.
Oh, thank you. And it was so great being here. Thank you so much. You're just bright sunshine. And I love that about you. And then for those, so you can head over to femcity.com. We have a free 30-day trial membership. We do online curriculum, local programs. Like I said, we have over 50 chapters in the US and Canada. And then for me personally, you can head over to Violette de Ayala over on Instagram. And I post a lot of content there that's just, with the purpose of making women have the ability to, or not the ability, giving them permission to have a happy, balanced life while making lots of money. So that's kind of my goal over on Instagram. But it's so much.
Yes. And we'll finish it off with a lightning round of either or. So usually it's just super quick. So we'll start off with dark chocolate or milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
Movies at home or movies in a theater.
Theater.
Domestic vacation or foreign vacation.
Foreign vacation.
Afraid or embarrassed.
Embarrassed.
Attend a party or host a party.
Oof, host.
I know it's like a lot of work that goes into hosting a party. And hot coffee or iced coffee.
Hot coffee.
Perfect. All right. It was so nice meeting you and chatting all your behind the scenes.
Thank you so much. Mwah.